That's coming up later on the other side of 2. As per usual, our lines of communications are open. 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line. If you'd like to send through a WhatsApp voice note, you're more than welcome to do so. And 086 000 2032 is the number that you can give us a call on.
All SASA Gold cards will stop working on the 28th of February 2025. Replace yours today with the new Postbank Black Card at no cost. Join hundreds of thousands of grant beneficiaries already receiving their grants on their new Postbank Black Cards. For your convenience, you can collect your card at multiple locations nationwide. Card replacement points are at selected ShopRite Checkers, Pick n Pay and Boxer stores. To find a location near you, dial *120 *218 *3#. Don't wait. Upgrade your card today for free. Trusted by millions for 150 years. Postbank, your bank.
Living your best life on the Full Circle.
And we always endeavor to do exactly that, to attempt to live our best lives every single day. And right now we're in conversation with CEO of the Women's Development Business Trust. Ria Biecha joins me, and we're talking around amplifying African women's voices. And of course, the African Women in Dialogue, which is a groundbreaking movement that is being championed by the Women's Development Business Trust. There we go. They are gathering once again under the banner this year, Women's Voice and Power as Agents of Change. And we're going to reflect back on past gatherings and, of course, what's on the agenda for conversation in 2025. How are you doing this afternoon, Maria?
I am doing very well, Bridget. Thank you ever so much for inviting us to our platform, and greetings to your listeners.
Thank you so much for the time. Much appreciated. Let's firstly maybe get some background and some context around the organization that powers this movement, the Women's Development Business Trust, and of course some historical context around the African Women in Dialogue, because this is not the first gathering of its kind for this movement.
Thank you for that, Bridget. The Women's Development Business Trust is an organization that was founded 30 years ago. Its founder is Mrs. Zanele Mbeki. Mrs. Zanele Mbeki herself is a very, very, very strong and dedicated and committed gender activist. When the trust was founded, the whole notion was to look at gender inequality, the impact on women, and to devise programs and mechanisms and platforms where women can engage around pushing back that so that we can navigate towards progressively towards gender equality. So the Women's Development Trust has a number of programs that they're involved in, and they're about women. They bank in women. They are for women. Mm. The programs that we are running are a few. Firstly, we have what we call the Zanele Development Trust. It is a psychosocial program that we offer to poor rural women. And we use an approach which we call the ABCD model. That ABCD, asset-based community development model. We're trying to say what assets are there in that community that we need to start checking whether these rural poor women are connected to those community assets. I'll give you a small example. You'd find that there's no income in a particular family at all. And when you try and check, you find that one of the debilitating issues there is that the grandmother does not have an identity card. And if she doesn't have an identity card, the daughter is not going to have. The children are not going to have that certificate. By just unblocking that small problem to say, after diagnosing the challenges of this family, we've managed to get both the daughter and the grandmother identity cards. Suddenly, there's some form of income, nominal or menial as it may be, they are able to get a grant for the old lady, a grant for the mother, and the children have birth certificates, are able to write matric. Longitudinally down the line, the child is able to go to the university, access study support, and you've changed the circumstances of that family. And it is something that you sit down with the family to discuss, to see what barriers are there. So that's a Zenzele program. The other program that we run, we call the Training Academy program. With the Training Academy program, again in rural areas, we have to bridge the digital divide and the literacy issues. These poor women who can't read and write, we use computers to teach them to be literate. You would find an old woman who's never been able to write. When I went to that graduation, I was in awe because these women were now writing. There was an examiner reading a paragraph in Zulu, and they were typing it into the screen. And they were able to tell you that this is a computer that tell you the mouse is this is the brain of the computer. And I was just in awe to say, amazing what you can do with it. And we also do that with the youth who are unemployed, to give them skills, to do all the Excel, SWOT, and all those things. We also in that program look at communities far from clinics to say, how do we bring, health workers, retired nurses, to train these women to be able to check blood pressure, to be able to do exercises, to be able to look at healthy diets, to be able to ensure that they're able to deal all as they are with their blood diabetes, their blood pressure, and all those. And these are in far-flung rural areas where these women are not having access to a number of these resources. So one of our Apex programs is what we call the microfinance.
Yeah, I want to, Maria, before we run out of time, I also want to spend a little bit of time on the African Women in Dialogue gathering, because this has been presented as a groundbreaking movement that champions the empowerment and leadership of women from all sectors. But it's not just about women who've already sort of hit the glass ceiling or broken through the glass ceiling, but it brings together women at every level of various sectors.
Correctly. We are gathered here under the banner of the African Women in Dialogue. Started in 2018, first brought women from SADC. It happened, we're seeing that success. It was extended to the whole continent, where 55 countries, bring delegates to this conference. Then happened COVID. Now we're holding it after COVID. 1,000 women are here from 55 countries, each sending 16 women. Very correct. Completely inclusive. In a sense that it takes the woman that we were talking about in the rural area that was not able to write, right up to a past president of a country, through to a CEO of a country, through to a teacher, through to a mfundisi, through to a... So what brings us together is being women. And we would like to say, irrespective, it's totally non-hierarchical. Irrespective of where you are coming from, what are the issues that are facing us? What are you bringing from the sector that you're in? How do we get to deal with the problems that we're facing? The second thing I want to mention is that it is for African women, and it is for women by women. The resources that we're using to mobilize and organize this comes from this continent. What are we trying to say? We are teaching ourselves as African women that unless we do it for ourselves, nobody's going to do it for us. It is a unique forum, and we believe it's got mega benefits for us as women to dialogue about the plethora of issues that face us, whether it's peace in the continent, whether it is issue of exclusion in the economy, whether it is displacement of women and their children. So it's many things that women will be engaged upon.
Yeah. Speaking of that, sort of the uniqueness of this particular forum, as you mentioned, that it is a inclusive convening of women from all over the continent, discoursing a whole plethora of issues. It's a challenging time also, and also on the other hand, a very significant time for women to be gathering to discourse on the many things that they're faced with and the many things that they grapple with from their respective corners. What were some of the dialogues in 2018 and 2019, and are you able to track, as by way of the organization, are you able to track whether or not there's been some kind of reform or headway in some of those conversations, so that when you convene again this year, you're able to move the dial a little bit further than where you left it off pre-COVID?
That is precisely the point. And we can just hook on to, for instance, Beijing in 1995, which brought 189 countries of all the world for women to be there. Mm. We are reviewing that and reflecting on that as African women, so that in March, when the gathering is held in the UN, we are able to take our messages going there. We were celebrating this morning to say, when we met in Beijing, we didn't have the number of presidents that we had here. You have Sir Leif Johnson, you have Nebanda, you go to Namibia, you go to Tanzania, you look at the AU. For the first time, we had Dr. Nkosazana Zuma there. We had Mephumzile Mlambo leading in whatever. We are having Mesazi Chabalala, the younger generation, being nominated for presidency of the African Bank. Those are the type of issues that we are starting to realize that the dial is shifting one way or the other. We would never have a gathering like this one that we're having, organized by African women resources. We would have been going to look for funders somewhere in Europe, in Canada. And so the dial is shifting because we are able to meet and talk about our issues and design our programs the way it suits us, the way it fits our needs. We are not having the dictates of funders who are saying you can meet if so and so can come and just no. We are able to discuss our issues.
Mm. Speaking of the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration, this is going to be a significant focus of your dialogue this year, from what I understand. And what role will then the African woman in dialogue play in this conversation on a global scale?
A number of organizations that are involved in this gender democracy, feminist democracy agents are here. And that is why we're having the discussion. And we'll have a basket of recommendations that we're taking over to say some things have been achieved, some things have not been achieved, and we believe going forward certain things should happen. Mm. One of the panels we are having on Wednesday, it's a panel of very young women who are here to help us reimagine the future. We have had our struggles as older women. They are having a completely different lens of looking at where we need to go. And those ideas will form part of the basket of us as African women to say, what is it that we believe should be sitting in a future agenda of women as we discuss in the UN?
Mm. Let's talk a little bit as well about, rewriting that narrative perhaps of African women. And you mentioned the participation of the younger gender, breathing in, a new perspective and a new lease of life as to what this means in the context of African women. How do we begin to challenge those stereotypes? And how does the movement, the African Women in Dialogue movement, begin to just navigate and challenge some of these existing and also very persistent stereotypes that linger over African women?
They are real, as you say, Bridget, and they are in our face. And if we don't put them on a pedestal and confront them, we're giving them a longer lease of life. Can we collapse them overnight? Probably not. Mm. But by meeting the way we do, raising those issues, putting them on a pedestal, listening to people like you, the younger women, who are saying we do not have the appetite that you had as old women to allow some of these things to persist. You know, one woman was asking me this afternoon to say, how do you deal with some of this, with these cultural biases and insistence of practices? And I said, you know, I was talking to a friend who said to me, my son came with my daughter-in-law to visit me over the holidays. And I was sitting with the daughter-in-law. And the daughter-in-law was saying to my son, oh, go help the child. She has spoiled herself, changed the nappy. And she said, I sat there, I saw my son pick up, you know, all the necessary things to go and change the nappy. And she was saying, in my body, I could feel that things have shifted and we are in a new environment. And it is you, Bridget, and others who should help us to take this knowledge and appreciation that coexistence is more inclusive. There are things that we can do differently. And I am keen to listen to the young panel to say, in all these issues that we are talking about, what is Bridget thinking?
Very insightful indeed, and things are shifting, albeit slowly. The wheels do turn nonetheless. Meria Piache, thank you so much for the time. And Meria is the CEO, of course, of the Women's Development Business Trust, and they are powering the African Women in Dialogue Forum that is happening, bringing women from various corners of the African continent at all levels to come together to discourse on a plethora of issues that affect women, African women in particular, in the now. It's just gone 1:30. Ondela standing by with the headline news, and then we'll come back on the other side. Thank you, Bridget. In the news headlines, Senior Counsel Advocate Dalim Mpofu has argued that the SABC is choosing political sides when using the term Government of National Unity. Mpofu has further argued that by using the term, the public broadcaster also promotes the political objectives of the GNU. The Randburg Magistrates Court has postponed the case of the 25-year-old woman facing charges of possession of child pornography and money laundering to tomorrow for a formal bail application. And EFF leader Julius Malema says teaching and learning conditions at the Relebohile Secondary School in Gauteng, west of Johannesburg, are disappointing. The school was forced to close down in 2023 after a huge sinkhole developed in the school premises. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
So Ogilvy South Africa is proud to announce the return of the Creative Technology Academy, and it's an initiative that's focusing on enhancing the specialist digital and technological skills of industry newcomers. So we're catching up now with Tristan Vogt, who's the head of Creative Technology, to walk us through the 2025 Academy syllabus, as well as those pertinent details in as far as intakes are concerned. How are you doing this afternoon, Tristan?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. So I just gave a little bit of a snapshot, but perhaps you can elaborate a little bit more around the Creative Technology Academy. And this is something that was initiated by Ogilvy South Africa. For those who don't know, probably one of the biggest players in the brand marketing and advertising space in the country and on the continent.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, in a nutshell, OGCTA, or the Ogilvy Giants Creative Tech Academy, is an opportunity for us to offer learning opportunities for grassroots talents that we've identified as having the aptitude as well as the talents within either a tech space or a creative space. And then the sole purpose of the leadership program, which stretches about 12 months, is for us to mix those together. It's basically like a new upgraded version of digital or innovation.
Yeah. So 12 months is the sort of span of the program, and it's targeting grassroots talents. Let's talk about how you unearth that talent, because, my understanding of what a grassroots talent is could be vastly different from your understanding from an industry leader's perspective of what a grassroots talent is in the space.
Sure. So we've got quite a stringent recruitment process. The funnel entails a number of different elements. For the most part, it's first putting the net out there to identify, youngsters that are keen and interested in creativity and technology. For the most part, the learners don't have or haven't had the opportunity of getting any specific formal education for whatever reason. They may be disadvantaged in that area. And then we funnel them through aptitude tests as well as boot camps in some instances to make sure we're giving the right people the right opportunities.
Yeah. The importance of Ogilvy sort of, initiating, empowering a program like this, why is it of significance and importance for you guys?
That's the leaders of tomorrow. When you look at creative tech or creative technologists, it's essentially the next step for marketing. So, the profound interest in generative AI and opportunities like that, that's really what we're looking at. We're making sure that Ogilvy is bringing the power of creative storytelling and big ideas. And at the same time, in my specialist division, we've got digital experts that are weaving in that techie side of things. So we're setting people up for the jobs of tomorrow, which is why it's really important for us to be involved with it too.
Let's talk about, what the 12 months might look like of the program. We don't have to get into the finite details, but perhaps you can give us a nice sort of colorful look at what the syllabus entails.
Okay. We've got a number of different partners like Devier and Greenside Design Center, and essentially what we are offering is an NQF 5 certificate across a number of different disciplines. It could be interdisciplinary design, it could be UX or data. So the learners are studying those more specifically focused disciplines throughout those 12 months. And then in addition to that, what we do as Ogilvy is we weave in inspiration sessions and work experience across a number of local and global clients to make sure that, they're getting a full view of what the meeting between creativity and tech could be. So that's just broad strokes what we're offering. I mean, we're also focused that full 12-month period on a larger human-centered design project, which we kind of call an MVP, where they chip away at coming up with an idea, a big idea, and then develop the detail to get it ready to pitch to our many different clients. So that really helps us structure it and imbue the ideology behind creativity and tech together.
For those who might be interested, by way of just the requirements for this, what do people need to have?
I think up front, it's number one, their interest in creativity as well as technology, and ideally the two coming together. We really do appreciate, considering it's someone who hasn't necessarily got a degree or diploma or certificate just yet, we really appreciate getting a view into what you're capable of and why you think it's a good fit for you specifically. Just apply. I mean, we're going to go through that full recruitment funnel process, but it's really just a hunger to learn and grow at the end of the day.
Where do people go? The reliable portals that folks can go to make their applications. I know deadlines close on the 28th of January at midnight.
Yeah. We've got, so if you visit the Devier platforms on social media, where it's LinkedIn or Instagram, as well as the Ogilvy platforms as well, we've outlined a clickable link on those platforms where they'll be taken to a landing page that'll quickly help them apply.
Awesome. As I said, 28th of January just dawned on me that we're literally talking about tomorrow. So they've got until tomorrow midnight to get those applications in. And you can go to Devier Youth Campus, their online presence, or you can go to Ogilvy's website as well and have a look there and see what you can find. Much appreciated. That was Kristen Vocht, who is the head of Creative Technology, walking us through the Creative Technology Academy 2025. And it's being powered by Ogilvy South Africa. So if you are a young person that has a keen interest in these specialist digital and technological fields, or perhaps you have an interest in the creative elements as well, this might be something worth your while and your take. So go check out what is required of you and make that necessary application. Don't want to miss out on an opportunity. It's approaching 2 o'clock. We're going to take a quick pause here, and then we're going to come back on the other side of this and get into another program calling for the class of 2025.
Get ready to make your life easier with TV License's new website features. We upgraded to the secure iVery 3D payment gateway and the ability to manage your account information, view, print, and download a detailed TV license statement. You can make website queries for an account and technical support, which has made things immensely easier. It is now a smooth, effortless process that can respond to all user inquiries quickly and efficiently. It is a great way to quickly get the help you need without worrying about a thing. Get started now and enjoy the convenience of TV License's new website features. Visit www.tvlic.co.za today. TV Licenses, do it for the convenience that matter.
During Ford's Blue Sky offers, you can get a new Ford Territory Ambiente from just $6,199 per month, including our optional service plan, 10% deposit, primeless 5.25%, 40% residual. Visit your trusted Ford dealer today for Blue Sky offers where our Ford Family Guarantee comes standard. Limited time offer while stocks last. T&Cs apply.
The SAFM Playwriting Competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
All right, let's now find out about these applications that are open for the Kuche Maths and Science Program, class of 2025, with Kuche's Corporate Social Investment Manager, Sylvia Graham, who joins us on the line. How are you doing this afternoon, Sylvia? Sylvia, you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Now I can. Are you good?
Yes, I'm good. How are you, Bridget?
I'm great, thank you. All right. Firstly, I guess we always want to find out just the background a little bit on Kuche. If you can give me some background on who Kuche is, and of course, what inspired you all to launch the Mathematics and Physical Science program?
Sure. So Kuche is a special economic zone. We are based in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape, and some of our key functions are investment attraction, which then also results in job creation. But some of our other important mandates also speaks to skills development and capacity building, as well as economic development within the local community. And that's where we come in with our Maths and Science program, which was established, we are in our 12th year of operation now. And essentially we are giving matriculants that have already written their exams a second opportunity to improve their mathematics and physical science results. So we have a full-time center here in Gqeberha where matriculants are able to attend classes and improve their mathematics as well as physical science results.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's a program that really, as you said, you're giving a second chance to matriculants who may not have fared that well by way of mathematics and physical science to do slightly better.
Absolutely, and it's purposeful that we are looking at mathematics and physical science. There is a shortage in terms of STEM qualifications within the country, and we're also noticing, so we're currently in our recruitment phase, and we're looking at the applications, and along with colleagues, we are noticing a phenomenon where matriculants are faring quite well in their 5 other subjects, that there is a gap where mathematics and physical science is concerned. And that's where we're stepping in, really giving young people an opportunity to have a different experience of these subjects, change their attitudes towards these subjects, and then ultimately gain entry into universities where they are able to pursue qualifications that relate to STEM.
Talking about that step in, so this year you're recruiting 100 learners that are going to benefit from some of your expertise. Talk to me about how that looks by way of the program.
Sure. So we look at, firstly, the results. So we request our applicants to send us their matric certificate as well as a copy of their ID. Unfortunately, we've closed applications. Applications closed on Friday. So we're going through the list, or rather those that have applied. So we look at those results, and we have a baseline minimum of 20% for physical science and mathematics. So the learner should have achieved at least that base minimum of 20% and have fared relatively well in their 5 other subjects, and there it's at least above 50%. Then we are giving a priority to the class of 2024 because we really do have limited space. We can only take 100 learners. And then, of course, it would be for learners that are able to access our facility here in Gqeberha and are eager to pursue a qualification in STEM at university. We know that it's quite competitive now to get into university, so we are realizing and recognizing that this program really does give matriculants an edge in their application process as they would be attempting, of course, in 2026.
What specific support and resources will those who successfully be admitted receive through the program? And this program is free, from what I understand, right?
Yes, Bridget. So the program is 100% free of charge. We have dedicated and experienced facilitators in both mathematics and physical science, and they are fully available to the learners. They attend class from 8 o'clock through to 1 o'clock, but if there is a need for additional support, our facilitators are available. We cover, of course, the fundamentals of both these disciplines, but the way our program is also structured is that we have included mentorship as well as coaching as part of the offering, and assisting our learners to also apply for tertiary and identify opportunities for bursaries and funding their studies further. Then what we've also started doing, Bridget, is as Kucha, we've included a holistic approach to learner development, where we are looking at excursions, bringing in some professionals from a career guidance perspective, and looking at elements outside of the conventional teaching within the maths and science classroom.
Now, tell me this, because I'm quite curious, right? You say part of sort of the baseline to entry is that the applicants would have needed to fare above 50% for all the other remaining subjects, and then 20% would be the base for mathematics. And is there a sort of, is there then a benchmark as to, through your program, ideally you want to raise that 20% of mathematics to what baseline? Are you raising it to 50% as well? Is that the sort of goal of the program?
Absolutely. So as Kucha, our intention is to get as many of these learners into university. So the base would be 50%, But just to share some of the achievements that we've had in the previous academic year as Kucha, we've managed to maintain 100% pass rate for our program. So all 100 of the learners that came to the Kucha Maths and Science program passed the examinations. But we're also quite proud of our distinctions. So we had 9 distinctions for mathematics and a total of 4 distinctions for physical science. And the bulk of our learners, the majority of them, so that's over 50 of them, are above 50% in terms of those results. We were actually having a conversation with some of our colleagues here at Kucha. Many of them are sitting on that 79%, 69% point, and we've encouraged them to apply for remarks. And the trends have been that those marks have improved in the past.
Oh, wow. Very impressive indeed. 12 years into this program and obviously wanting to build it to 12 more years into the future. How have you guys been able to ensure sustainability and growth?
So as Kucha, we've really invested a lot of resources into this to maintain it as a free program, but we are aware of the limitation of it. So we're only able to take 100 and only able to, take in learners that are in Gqeberha. What we're looking to do is expand our facilities and the size of our facilities so that we're able to take in more learners. But we've also been exploring technological solutions so that we can venture into the virtual space and be able to expand our reach beyond Gqeberha. And further than that, we're also open to partnership. So part of the CSI portfolio that we are responsible for here at Kucha is looking at stakeholders and like-minded organizations that would like to collaborate with us so that we can augment our reach.
I mean, it sounds like you're doing incredible work there, Sylvia, and it's programs like yours that I think a lot of people would like to see scaled up and duplicated all over the country. Given what you tell us about your success rates, your tangible success rates for your students who, are essentially grade 12 leavers who come back to then be given a second chance of improving their options with their mathematics and physical science results. We appreciate the time with you. That was Sylvia Graham, Kucha's Corporate Social Investment Manager, and they're out in Gqeberha. So if you're in that zone, as you heard, unfortunately the applications for that 2025 cohort have now closed, but you should probably keep a keen eye and a keen ear and keep their details close at hand. If you have a student in the family that's in grade 11 and doing, of course, STEM subjects inclusive of mathematics and physical science, and maybe you're seeing that it's tekering a little bit, and there might be some problems come the following year for matric. At least you know that there's a resource close by. If you are in Gqeberha, that there's a resource close by that you could lean on. It's just gone 2 o'clock on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM, leading the conversation. We're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to come back on the other side of this. And we'll have another conversation from classroom to career and how AI has the potential to bridge South Africa's skills gap.
Compliments for 2025, Mangani. Call me Mabel Goals because I'm coming for it all this year. Body, relationship, and financial goals. With my Just Invest account, financially I'm cruising. 2 more to go. You know any available Prince Charming voice, man?
I've got you, Mabel. Sorry. Mara, you can also be like Mabel and earn up to 8.25% in interest to start the year right. Open yours via the Money app today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Promo rates apply. Go to nedbank.co.za for more information.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
So the matric class of 2024 has achieved an impressive 87.3% pass rate, one of the highest in recent history. And the milestone means that more students than ever before will be entering the working world. However, we also know that youth unemployment saw a slight decline towards, not a significant one, a very slight one, towards the end of the year. And the gains were mostly concentrated in largely unskilled sectors such as construction education and trade. But at the same time, we also keep talking about just the disconnect between available skills and market demands, aka jobs for the future. And so we thought we'd catch up with founder and CEO of Centennial Schools Sandton, Sean Fuchs, and have this conversation around how AI has the potential to bridge South Africa's skills gap. How are you doing this afternoon?
Sure, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Let's get into this, because this is an ongoing conversation, right, about there being a disconnection between the matric pass rates and our sort of tertiary leavers and what the market actually is demanding and needing these days. So let's have a conversation about the mismatch firstly. Why do we have this mismatch, and why does it seem as though we still not getting our heads around this conversation and how to optimize on the skills needed versus the sort of kids coming out of school and the qualifications coming out of tertiary?
So I think that the root problem is that we haven't adjusted our curriculum. Our curriculum as it stands now was first discussed in 1997 to implement Curriculum 2005. And the changes that came about in terms of CAPS, which is the current curriculum, was in about 2012. And then in about 2019, we started talking about preparing our kids for the fourth industrial revolution. We're on the fifth industrial revolution with artificial intelligence as the dominant factor, and yet we're still talking about preparing them for the fourth industrial revolution. So I think there's a huge disconnect in what we are teaching in the curriculum as opposed to the skill set that we need right now. And if you take any kid that comes out of school with a matric, what is that matric certificate qualifying that student to do? Absolutely nothing.
How do we then begin, Sean, how do we sort of begin to rethink what traditional education looks like or should look like in the fifth industrial revolution?
I think we need to accept that the entire curriculum needs an overhaul. I mean, I can ask you very simply, what's the stuff you learnt at school, what are you currently using now in your career, or have you used in your career?
Absolutely nothing, considering that I didn't even do speech and drama, and look where I ended up.
100% correct, Bridget. So you are absolutely correct in that. And the issue is we are not taking realistic skills for our students and teaching them those skills. And at Centennial Schools, that's exactly what we've started doing, is we want to future-proof our students so that by the time they leave school, they have the ability to interact with a world that literally changes within a couple of months.
So how have you guys done that, or how are you managing to do that with your SGB? What are you taking into consideration as you plan, for the next coming academic years?
So we've digitized to a large extent. So the school focuses on three core areas: on technology, on science and maths, and on business and entrepreneurship. And those three pillars literally run through the school in whatever we teach. So we are bound legislatively to teach the curriculum. Our students write the IB exam when they get to matric, but in those lessons, we will teach those three pillars along the lines of each subject. So we incorporate that in. So every student works off a laptop, for example. I mean, when you talk to parents and you say to parents, when's the last time you took a piece of paper, punched it, and put it into a lever arch file? Yeah. They laugh at you because they haven't done it in years. Yet that is how we are teaching at the moment. So we've digitized to a large extent the majority of what we're doing with our students. And obviously now, more recently, bringing artificial intelligence into that mix in the classroom.
Given the fact that part of the conversation in South Africa is that a large majority of our schools are unfortunately not as resourced, don't even come close to being equally resourced to a campus like yours at Centennial, how do we ensure then that we don't leave any children behind? Because, there's this conversation that Premier Lesufi is driving right now, for instance, around singular exams. And the one point that he makes that I think that should be at the center of this is that at the end of the day, whether you're coming out of Deep Sloot Secondary or Centennial, you are going into the same university to start, basically the same curriculum on the same level, on the same footing, but we're not starting on the same footing.
Yeah, there's a huge dichotomy in terms of what's going on within South Africa, where you have schools that are going to have all the facilities available, and it's based on an income. That's really what it is, unfortunately. And I think what needs to happen is we need to break it down as realistically as we possibly can, with the understanding that we do need some element of change. So that element of change could be small, whether it's students working on their mobile devices. Many students have mobile devices. It doesn't matter what school you're at. And how can that be incorporated? I think bringing big business into areas. There are a lot of fiber companies that supply fiber that have been incredible with supplying fiber into government or state schools. So I think it has to be broken down into a much smaller, detailed level per area, per school, on what capability is. Because I don't think a blanket approach can be applied to everyone. I don't think that's going to work.
In our final minute, literally, Sean, let's just touch a little bit on subjects like robotics, for instance, and their preparation for students for the real world that they're going to be living in the not so very distant future.
Yes. So bringing things like robotics and obviously coding into the curriculum is fantastic, because it gives hands-on technical skills, particularly the robotics, because students working with robotics kits and sensor, it gets them to understand how AI can interact with physical systems, and it produces problem solving and critical thinking. So those are core skills that our students need into the fifth industrial revolution.
We've run out of time, and I think we've just literally scratched the surface of this conversation. But we appreciate your time and your insight this afternoon. That was founder and CEO of Centennial Schools, Sandton, Sean Fuchs, joining us now. 2 o'clock on the dot. Ondela is standing by with your top of the hour news. Thank you, Bridget. Top stories at 2. Mpofu argues the SABC is choosing political sides and case postponed against a woman in a child pornography matter. For SFM News, I am Ondela and a very good day. Senior counsel advocate Dalim Mpofu has argued that the SABC is choosing political sides when using the term Government of National Unity. Mpofu has further argued that by using the term, the public broadcaster also promotes the political objectives of the GNU. This as Umkhonto Sizwe Party's case against the SABC continues in the High Court in Johannesburg today. The MK Party further argues that the GNU is nothing but a grand coalition between the DA and the ANC. Mpofu elaborates.
The SABC cannot be equated with a private citizen or broadcaster who is entitled to freedom of expression. The SABC is a public broadcaster funded by the taxpayer to provide the highest standards of journalism and fair, unbiased, impartial, and independent news coverage. Whereas a private citizen or broadcaster may freely take political sides and promote party political objectives, a public broadcaster may not use public money to do so.
The Randburg Magistrates Court has postponed the case of the 25-year-old woman facing charges of possession of child pornography and money laundering to tomorrow for a formal bail application. The 25-year-old web designer briefly made her first court appearance this morning following her arrest in Hartien, Johannesburg last week. She's the girlfriend of 35-year-old Darren Wilkin, who was arrested this month after being found in possession of over 10 million images and videos of child pornography. Refilo Mekwa reports.
The visibly distraught woman is expected to apply for a formal bail application tomorrow. The 25-year-old has now become an additional accused number 2 in the case of her boyfriend, an alleged child porn kingpin, Darren Wilkin, who's accused of distributing child pornography for financial profit on a global scale. The duo will have the same charges of manufacturing, selling, and production of child pornography, including money laundering. The suspect remains in custody. Refile Mekwa, SABC News, Randburg.
EFF leader Julius Malema says teaching and learning conditions at the Relebogile Secondary School in Gauteng, west of Johannesburg, are disappointing. The school was forced to close down in 2023 after a huge sinkhole developed in the school premises. Learners are currently accommodated in adjacent temporary classrooms where there are a few toilets and limited water facilities. Speaking to SABC News, Malema said government has totally neglected the school.
It's very painful. This is the highest form of negligence. This is hatred of blackness, because this is a beautiful infrastructure which we should have looked after. I think we can still make it. We can turn Relebohile around and make it one of the good schools. And it just depending on us making sure that we follow up on the commitments we've made. We've made commitments to follow up with the MEC, to follow up with the Premier, and knowing Premier, if he calms himself and sees things like this, I can guarantee you there will be some form of movement.
2 of the 9 SANDF soldiers who died in the DRC are from the Free State. The families of the 2 soldiers from Paul Rue and Buchabelo have declined to speak to SABC News. They say that they have been told by the SANDF to refrain from speaking to the media until they have been provided with the full report of what happened to their loved ones. The fallen soldiers died during a fierce gun battle in the eastern DRC where they formed part of the United Nations and Southern African peacekeeping force holding off M23 rebels from advancing on the city of Goma. As many as 100,000 Palestinians, some on foot, others on donkeys or in cars, are heading back to what remains of their homes in northern Gaza. Around 500,000 more are expected to follow over coming days after Hamas agreed to release 3 more Israeli hostages. Many will return to find their homes destroyed and will have to live in tents. The BBC's Rushdie Abulof has the details.
The joy in the very early morning is mixed and overshadowed with the reality. The Hamas-run local authority just issued a statement saying that they need 150,000 tents, and this can all reflect how much destruction are in Gaza City. The images and videos we are getting from there is completely unfortunate for the people who are returning back.
Recapping the top story, senior counsel advocate Dalim Bofu has argued that the SABC is choosing political sides when using the term a government of national unity. I am Ondelambana for SFM News headlines at 2:30.
Are we ready for a real conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
It is the Muffins. Soundcheck is the name of this particular song. They actually celebrated their 10th anniversary last year sometime, if I recall, memory serves correct, in the second half of the year. We had a quick catch-up with them. That is how we bring you into 2 o'clock. It's just gone 10 past 2 on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM. Hey, by the way, here's a question for you. If you or a family member, in light of the fact that today is National Police Day, I'm wondering if you or a family member are part of the South African police services, if you've served as a police officer at any point in time, or you had a family member who had a family member who at some point in time served as a police officer. What was that experience like for you? You know, I've been watching a lot of conversations this morning with families of police officers as we mark this day, celebrate and honor them for their services. And a lot of spouses that I've sort of seen in conversation with some journalists talking about that fear element of it. And it got me thinking that, we actually don't really consider that because it's not our lived experience, that element of when your spouse or your child leaves the house to go to work, to essentially do the job that they are passionate about and that they've chosen and that they've dedicated their life to, that you as a family that's left behind over the course of that evening or that day, it really is a cycle of perpetuated anxiety and fear for you, because you never know when you might get a dreaded phone call that says some injury or some harm has come to your spouse or your child, or perhaps you really do get the most horrific of phone calls that tells you that that person will not be coming home after their shift today. And because it's not our lived experience, we often have this sort of love-hate relationship with police, dependent on what your personal experience or what your peripheral experience has been with them. And we talk about this trust deficit between police and us as South African communities. We don't trust them. We don't put much faith into them. We talk very negatively about police, but we forget that at the end of the day, there really are far more good people serving in the South African police services than there are the odd rotten apples. But we never will make loud noise about the goodness of people, and we forget that they have families and loved ones, and their daughters and husbands and sons and nieces and nephews and grandfathers and grandmothers, to people who are waiting for them at the end of every single day. And they go out there and do something that you and I would never do. I would never choose to be a police officer, not even if you paid me R1 million. I would walk away from that. I wouldn't even try to do. I don't even want to know what it would be like to do it for 24 hours. If you ask me to swap my life, my job with the police officers for 24 hours, I would tell you no thank you and gladly walk away from you. And so it just got me thinking that perhaps on this day, National Police Day, in this hour, it would be lovely to hear from you if you've got somebody in your family who's been part of the South African Police Force, or you are part of the South African Police Force, or you've retired from the South African Police Force, just to hear some of your lived experience and, your reflections on your journey and your career, and your reflections on the relationship that we as community have with you, and what that does, if at all, if it takes a toll on you at all, how we perceive police officers in this country. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. You're more than welcome to send a WhatsApp voice note there, or you can give us a call on 086-000-2032, and my producers will call you back. Before I get into my next conversation, you can hear the thing about live radio. You can't hide anything. So I've got a case of the hiccups. I just want to take a quick break, and then we'll come right back and get into our next chat.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
For you saying whatever comes out of the result, the bachelors or what we would call distinctions is the one you'd look out for. But you saying if those numbers are down or they sort of plateau, that again perpetuates a serious problem, not just in our education system, but in terms of the output.
I'm mainly arguing that university qualification, which is a bachelor's pass is what they would call it, is what in fact we need to be benchmarking almost as a standard, rather than simply saying, no, the standard is just for you to get through. I accept that not every learner is going to be an academic, but I would also want for a learner who goes to a TVET college or whatever other skills-based training they deem to go to, that they are proficient in the subject above 50% that they can, because that means they'll be more competitive.
Musi Maimani, leader of Build One South Africa.
This is the National Pulse on SAFM. All podcasts can be downloaded on safm.co.za. SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
All right, let's catch up with Portia Mvubu, who's a Senior Digital and Communications Manager at Orange Inc. The 2025 Edelman Trust Barometer has painted a rather sobering picture of the state of trust in society, and the findings reveal a significant decline in trust across key institutions, including government, business, and media. And this is ushering what has been termed an age of grievance. we got Portia joining us, and she's going to walk us through some of those findings for 2025. And, of course, also have a conversation around how perhaps businesses can rebuild confidence and bridge this trust divide. How are you doing this afternoon?
Very well, thanks, Bridget. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for the time. Much appreciated. Let's talk about the 2025 Edelman Trust Barometer, and perhaps what came out of it that was surprising, or maybe even of concern, especially in regards to South Africa.
Yeah, so it's important to note that the survey was a global survey, but obviously we're in a very globalized society, and if you just look at the three top findings of this, it's really surprising, because you would assume that as we've become a more global society, we've become more inclusive, ethically diverse compared to previous generations, but it's evident that there's a lot of room for growth, because some of the key findings, nearly 2/3, this is over 60% of respondents worry about experiencing prejudice, discrimination, or racism, and it's grown from even compared to last year. And this is across countries and demographics. And then another finding was only 36% of respondents believe that things will be better for the next generation. This includes in developed countries. In fact, it's even worse, because 1 in 5 don't even see the possibility of a better future. And, the majority of the grievances are against government, business, and the rich. So it's that battle between the haves and the have-nots, and something we can really resonate with in South Africa, given our history, and sometimes in the present day with sort of the economic diversities.
And although this was a global survey, with over 33,000 respondents from across 28 countries, the things that you've highlighted here as sort of concerns, things like prejudice, racism, discrimination, just over 30% folks believing that things will be better for the next generation, issues around government, and issues around that divide between the rich and the poor. It also speaks to just how unified we all are as a global population, and that we don't sort of struggle or face challenges in isolation of each other.
Yes, absolutely. There were really, really shocking things, and they across the globe. And even if you'd think that there'd be a very vast difference between the developed and the underdeveloped societies, but really there isn't. The feelings are mutual, and I think, like you say, it's very indicative of just how globalized we are and how we listen to, issues happening across the world, and therefore the sentiment is very similar.
You guys also mentioned that, there's what's now being termed the rise of hostile activism amongst young demographics. Talk to us about that and what that looks like.
So 40% of the respondents say that they approve of, hostile actions, to bring about change, and it's really to force some institutional change. The respondents, they said they would approve of like attacks on people online, intentionally spreading disinformation, threaten or commit violence, damage to public or private property. And that is really shocking if you could look at that. And, to really understand, and most of these respondents were people between the ages of 18 and 34. So this is your younger millennials and mostly the Gen Zs. And if we look at these and compare a lot of surveys that just look at this age group and these active participants of our economy, it's people who are known for being tech-savvy, diverse, pragmatic, and they're also known for valuing flexibility, transparency, and authenticity. So they're really about holding businesses, institutions, governments accountable for actions and putting that pressure on them to bring about change. And I think if we just reflect on key leading issues in the news over the past year, some of the geopolitical issues, we really saw that sort of global movement and people being unified in just bringing about that change. So this was very evident and came out even in the survey, which is something we'd already suspected.
Now, I alluded that part of our conversation was also, whilst we look at this sort of trust deficit crises, was how businesses can then rebuild that confidence. And given the nature of sort of the younger demographic right now, as indicated by this, how do then businesses begin to perhaps proactively address these issues and this sort of hostile activism trend versus them being reactive to it down the road?
Yeah. I think businesses cannot afford anymore to just operate in isolation from their communities. Businesses tend to have fear sometimes to participate in conversation on social issues. They really need to start embracing proactive engagement, ensuring that their operations really align with the societal needs and the concerns of the societies in which they operate in. Gone are the days for the superficial, social responsibility initiatives, because consumers demand that authentic and impactful efforts that resonate with their lived experiences.
Let's talk and unpack a little bit what you'll term ESG, environmental, social, and governance strategies, and how is that essential to rebuilding trust?
These policies that are put in place, if you look at the guidelines of sort of ESG from an environmental and social and governance perspective, they're really good to sort of encourage businesses to operate ethically and be involved in their communities and invest back in their communities. But I think businesses need to go beyond that, right, and do it authentically and really be involved. And this will take companies going beyond the regulatory compliance and demonstrate a genuine commitment to the investments and environmental stewardship. Like in South Africa, for example, businesses, I believe, should be, deliberate about creating opportunities for economic inclusion. You're looking at things like skills development and infrastructure investment in underserved communities especially. So, it's not just about those communities. How does it impact the community in which we operate in? How has it changed lives? How are you measuring it? When it changes and when those needs change, are businesses on top of it? Do they have the ear on the ground? Are they listening to their audiences and serving them accordingly? Because if we look at these younger generations, they're really about that authentic involvement. It's not just about the fluff or going according to what the policies say, but, who do you know from our community and how have you changed their lives? It's really about genuine, authentic participation over and above regulatory compliance.
When we look at the sort of the South African business landscape, are we finding that South African organizations and businesses are perhaps being proactive in implementing this way of strategizing and thinking?
I think there are industries differ, and I think more and more because of that sort of globalized society with the uprise of social media, businesses have been put in the position to almost have to. There's so much opportunity for communities to express their emotions, and these things count. They count even to the bottom line. If you are trending for the negative reasons, your stakeholders are going to shift, your investors are going to shift, they're going to ask the questions, and therefore, these things count. These conversations count, and I think that, some businesses or some industries are put under pressure because of those platforms, but others, are invested, and it's good to see that, with these kind of surveys, things that are backed by data and facts, provides for an opportunity for businesses to improve on that. But, looking at the insights, which are very recent, there's evidently more room for businesses to improve.
Absolutely. And let's also elaborate a little bit on the role perhaps of social listening tools like OI Sense. Firstly, give us some context. OI Sense, what are we speaking about there?
So at Orange Ink, so it's Orange Ink Sense. It's sort of a tool that it's a tool that we use for social listening. So what this means is it's beyond just looking at conversations on social media, but it's looking at how are they trending, how long have they been trending for, what are the leading topics, what is the sentiment. These things matter for businesses, and it's really about helping the business to understand their audiences, to understand society, even outside their own audiences, just to have a know on what's happening in society and how it may impact your business in the future. And this goes back to what you said about being proactive, about engaging with audiences and knowing the right places to invest, knowing the right places that need attention, potential risks to business, and opportunities over and above the threats. So, yeah, that's sort of OI Sense in a nutshell. It's a PR-led social listening tool that really helps businesses manage sentiment, but also engage accordingly with audiences.
When we look at sort of rebuilding or building that long-term trust with their various stakeholders, what should South African businesses be taking into consideration in order to align their operations with those societal needs?
And the first thing goes back to listening, right? It's listening. I think a lot of businesses make the mistake of speaking at their audiences and not to their audiences, and allowing for conversation. So that for you to know how to speak and have conversations, you really need to listen. You really need to know where they are and meet them where they are, as listening is paramount. And, the second one I'd say, transparent communication. Just be honest about challenges, setbacks, showing a commitment to improve, create open door policies and encourage community dialogue and feedback. And, that shows that, you're interested. People love to be heard, and it helps better understand or showcase that you really are invested in serving them beyond your business operations. And then on the CSR one, invest in communities, projects that align with local needs. People tend to, or businesses make the mistake sometimes of just having a blueprint. If you have national, especially the global ones, if they have a standard sort of CSI approach, look at the environment you're in. Does this fit? Does it make sense? Do the policies need to change? What is the sentiment in this environment? It also touches on that importance of listening. And, authentic commitment, cannot emphasize being authentic, right? So supporting local businesses and talent by sourcing locally wherever possible, participating locally in things that are happening, being ethical in practices, because with trust goes ethics, right? One of the key findings was that people believe that ethics are at an all-time low. So to ensure fair labor practices as an example, ethical sourcing, environmentally friendly operations, people are really moving to that, and they want to know what the brand voice is in those subjects around, considering the environment. And, on the topic of being proactive, even in crisis management, addressing concerns proactively rather than reactively, so that you maintain that trust and credibility and take accountability. Sometimes businesses do make mistakes.
Yeah.
Show the accountability and take a swift, correct actions when mistakes are made.
Portia, we have to leave it there for this afternoon, but thank you so much for your insights. That was Portia Mvubu, Senior Digital and Communications Manager at Orange Inc. 0614104107 is our WhatsApp line, or you can give us a call on 086 000 2032. It is National Police Day today, and we'd love to hear from you if you are a person in service, a person who used to be in service, or have a family member that's in service. We'd love to know your personal experiences, and maybe even your take on the relationship that we have with you as police, or we can flip the coin and we can have a conversation around your relationship with police and whether or not there is a trust deficit there and what is causing that breakdown in communication and trust, and maybe what you perceive police should be doing a little bit better to rebuild and regain that relationship with community. For now, though, Ondela is standing by. Thank you, Bridget. In the news headlines, the case against a City of Cape Town official who was arrested at the city's offices last week has been withdrawn in the Cape Town Magistrates Court. Senior counsel advocate Dali Mpofu has argued that the SABC is choosing political sides when using the term Government of National Unity, and former Minister of International Relations Naledi Pandor has called for diplomatic efforts to address the crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo. This comes after 9 South African soldiers were killed and several others injured whilst fighting M23 rebels last week. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
You are listening to The Full Circle. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
My name and surname is David Shempembe. I am 10 years old. I think eating breakfast is important before school because it gives us energy and helps us concentrate in class. My mom, in fact, always says breakfast is the most important meal of the day because it helps to give us important nutrients, assist in our brain function that helps restore our memory and focus. She also says not only it helps boost our energy level, but assists us with weight management and blood sugar control. I think that is super cool. I like knowing that breakfast makes me smart at school. I never skip breakfast. My parents and my brother always make sure we have it, even in the car on our way to school on the days that we are late in the morning. So I am not sure how I would feel should I miss it. I would assume I would feel hungry, grumpy, and irritated. That is how I feel when I am hungry. If I could create a perfect school day breakfast, it would include bacon, eggs or pancakes, yogurt and fruits with a delicious orange juice. We always wake up early to prepare for school and make sure we eat breakfast every day without fail. Thank you.
Hello, beautiful people of Mzansi. My name is Labanzi Songwane. I think it is super important eating breakfast before school because it gets you up and running for the day. It gives you the energy you need for the couple of hours. And I don't know, it just fills you with all the vitamins and the nutrients that you will need for that day. I think my favorite thing to eat for breakfast is either porridge or oats. I realize that after I eat these things, I don't know, I feel full for the rest of the day. It gives me energy. It doesn't make me fall asleep in class. And yeah, it just really fills me up. And that's what I like because I hate being hungry during class because yeah, it just makes me not focus and it really makes me just focus on food, you know, and that's not what I should be focusing on. So I really like it because it makes me full and it gets me through the day. When I skip breakfast in the morning, I realize that I get tired very, very easily. My lessons in the morning usually take 3 hours before I go on break. So when I don't eat breakfast, I realize that I'm tired in like 2 hours of like the day started, and that's not good because obviously, like I said, I like focusing in class because obviously that's what I have to do. So if I'm hungry, I'm not really focusing on what the teacher is teaching, and I feel really, really tired if I don't eat like breakfast in the morning. So I'll be hungry and I'll be sleepy at the same time, and that's just not a good combination. If I could create the perfect school day breakfast, it would honestly be like those breakfasts that we see on Disney Channel where those children, like the mothers prepared such a beautiful breakfast for them. They have fruits, they have pancakes, all of these nice things, and they choose to take like an orange or something. If that was me, I would eat as much as I could. So I think a perfect breakfast for me would be fruits, maybe some pancakes, or just have like fruits in there because I really like fruits, and have maybe the porridge or the oats, or having some bacon and eggs. Ooh, I think that would be perfect.
The time I wake up when I'm supposed to go to school is usually at 6 o'clock because my school starts at 7 o'clock and I live very close to it. Otherwise, if I would live far to it, then I would wake up at 5. During weekdays, I usually have breakfast at 6:30 and after I've taken a shower, and when I usually wake up at 9 o'clock, I have it at 9:30 at 10 o'clock, I have it at 10 o'clock. How I feel when I have breakfast and I forget to have breakfast. I feel most of the times very hungry until it's break time or recess. Then I can go and eat my lunch. Thank you so much for listening to me. Have a lovely day and goodbye.
Hello everyone, my name is Ashley Kawamba. The time I wake up to go to school would be around 5:30 a.m. unless I would have things to do. Before I leave the house for school, I do make sure that I have eaten breakfast, and same goes with the weekends. There are times when I run late for school that I do skip breakfast. What I eat the most for breakfast would be cereals or sometimes toast with tea. I become hungry during the day if I do not eat my breakfast.
Hey guys, my name is Yolanda Mzobe. I am 11 years old. Yes, I think eating breakfast before school is important because it will make you feel energetic and not starving. My favorite thing to eat during breakfast is porridge because it makes me feel energetic. If I skip a breakfast in the morning, it will make me feel hungry and starving. If I could create the perfect school day breakfast, it will include healthy food. What's something I can do to make time to eat breakfast before school is to wake up on time so that you can eat as much as healthy breakfast you want to. Thank you everyone.
Hello friends and happy Monday. Today let's talk about something super important to start your school day the right way. Breakfast. Why do you think eating breakfast before school is important? Well, breakfast is like fuel for your body and brain. After a whole night of sleep, your body needs energy to help you think clearly, stay focused, and feel strong throughout the day. What's your favorite thing to eat for breakfast? Maybe you love a warm bowl of porridge, some scrambled eggs, or even a slice of toast with peanut butter. Whatever it is, breakfast gives your body the nutrients it needs to feel ready for a busy day of learning, playing, and having fun. Have you ever skipped breakfast before? How did you feel? Well, like you heard from our friends, most children say they feel tired, grumpy, or even find it hard to concentrate when they miss breakfast. That's why it's so important to make time for this special meal every morning. How could the perfect school day breakfast look like? Maybe a mix of something healthy and yummy, like a smoothie, fresh fruits, a boiled egg, or a slice of toast. The best breakfasts have a good balance of energy like carbs, proteins, and vitamins to keep you going strong. Here's a tip to make sure you have enough time for breakfast in the morning. Try getting your school bag and uniform ready the night before. This way, your morning is less rushed and you can sit down and enjoy your meal before heading out. That's all for today, friends. Remember, breakfast isn't just a meal. It's the key to a fantastic day at school. So eat up, fuel up, and show the day your best self. Bye for now.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
All SASA Gold Cards will stop working on the 28th of February 2025. Replace yours today with the new Postbank Black Card at no cost. Join hundreds of thousands of grant beneficiaries already receiving their grants on their new Postbank Black Cards. For your convenience, you can collect your card at multiple locations nationwide. Card replacement points are at selected ShopRite Checkers, Pick n Pay and Boxer stores. To find a location near you, dial star 120 star 218 star 3 hash. Don't wait. Upgrade your card today for free. Trusted by millions for 150 years. Postbank, your bank.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on the Full Circle.
Alrighty, for our last conversation, we're having a congratulatory one, a quick catch-up with Prof. Chris van der Hoven, who is the newly appointed Senior Director at Stellenbosch Business School. And Stellenbosch Business School recently announced the appointment of Professor Chris van der Hoven as its new Senior Director. It came into effect on the 1st of January. Now, he's got decades of international experience in academic leadership leadership and a proven track record of fostering collaboration between academia and industry. And we want to just firstly congratulate you, Prof, on this new appointment. Exciting times ahead.
Yeah, my word. Thank you, Bridget. That's so kind. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm absolutely thrilled, and I'm delighted to be talking to you, so thank you for that.
Only but a pleasure. Let's talk about, the new role ahead as the Senior Director of the business school. What excites you the most? And I guess there's always this element of the challenging aspect of the career that sort of brings about that drive, and that I want to do this differently for this institution in order to take it to that different level. What does that entail for you?
Well, I don't mind fessing up, first of all, that I've been trying to wiggle my way into this particular role for quite a long time, and it's because I have such a passion for what gets done here and how it works. I've been very lucky in that the last about 6.5 years or so, I was the chief executive of a company that's owned mostly by the university, which delivers executive short courses. So I'm quite familiar with Stellenbosch Business School, having been part of it for quite a long time. And to answer your question, we had such a crucial time. I suppose everybody says that, and everyone says it all the time. But we had such a crucial time in the country with the GNU and on the continent, and particularly at the moment with what's been going on abroad with new appointments to significant geographies, let's say, and what that might mean for all of us. And I really am just cherishing the opportunity to be able to work with my colleagues, the faculty and our administrative staff here to make sure that we make Stellenbosch Business School graduates the most sought-after graduates in the country and on the continent and beyond, if we can, It's an important time for employability to be front and center. And then the other thing that's a hugely exciting opportunity is that through the unbelievable generosity of companies that are close to us, we have the opportunity to move our center of operations to a site called Oda Libertas in Stellenbosch, which means we'll have much closer proximity to the rest of the university. And you'll know, I'm sure, that there's a massive new and very highly valued data science environment. There are other facilities and faculties that are incredibly synergistic with what we do. So, it's a fantastic venue. I'm a little bit heartsore about leaving some of what we've built up over the years here, but it's much more exciting, and that completely outweighs any concerns anyone may have. And everyone's working remotely and learning often remotely, so there's a time to pivot so we're not disrupted,
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about, you mentioned this being a crucial time, not only in the country with all the sort of the political developments that have happened since our last national election, but also there's a lot happening globally right now, given, new president in the West, new dynamics unfolding at play there as well that affect and impact the rest of the world. How is this time impactful for business schools, and how does it sort of in the day and now gives significance, perhaps even more significance, to business schools and how they sort of plug in to the rest of the global conversation?
Well, I'm very conscious, and I'm sure you are and your listeners are, of the criticism of the World Economic Forum, and in a lot of instances, not without reason, but every now and again there's a shot across the bows that really makes you pay attention. And I think in the last little while, the new, well, not so new anymore, but the president of Argentina, Javier Milei, said his speech at the World Economic Forum and really sent shudders through the globe, and was kind of pushing back on some of what has happened in politics, some of what has happened in terms of philosophy certainly he has done some earth-shattering things economically, which have proven to be astronomically good medicine for Argentina. Although with everything, it's never all good. But it kind of what it does is it suggests the possibility of a reset. So I think I'm not an economist, so I don't want to stretch outside of my comfort zone too much, and nor should I. But I do think that there's some very interesting framings of the problems that we've taken for granted in going back. And then from the point of view of business schools, it is absolutely always the case that we need to be led somewhat by the industries that we serve. If you talk about employability, it's really important to try and understand from employers what it is that they're looking for, and to not put your students in a place where there's a gap between what they've learned and what their future employers would need. Or, if they are going to be entrepreneurs, that they don't decide to take the plunge and then discover they are a couple of yards short of where they need to be to make it work, because it's a very high-risk situation to be in if that's what's happening. So, this is a universal thing. It's not South Africa or the continent. It's true around the world, is that the relevance, the rigor is definitely there, and Stellenbosch is front and center when it comes to rigor. But the relevance is something we have to be very vigilant about sustaining and maintaining on behalf of our students. Their marketability is crucial, and their marketability hinges on their reputation as being really gritty operators in the various industries they serve,
Absolutely. Just by way of maybe the challenges, what in your perception, what would be some of the biggest challenges that are facing business school faculties today, and maybe how do you navigate and innovate around those?
I think one thing that all business schools, particularly in South Africa, are faced with is that it is to be a fact. I'm trying to find the right framing of how to put this without over dramatizing it. But the fact of the matter is that it is extremely difficult to find people who are rock star faculty members who are potentially going to change the lives of students at a very high level in businesses, and be able to pay them how they would be valued in the market. And we're very lucky. We have an industry-based advisory board with an element of some overseas support from deans of business schools outside of the country. And this advisory board meets a couple of times a year. It's headed up by a gentleman called Simon Suzman, who you may know, the previous chairman of Woolworths. And they are incredibly energized by the need to have proximity to business so that the relevance is very, very strong. And there are challenges to be met in terms of getting the right resources, the right level of funding. By the way, getting access for students from the continent, for example, issues with study visas, the costs, even in rands, for some of the students that come from Africa is a problem. The costs for students inside of the country can be tough in some instances. So there's lots to work on, but nothing that's insurmountable, and absolutely no reason that we shouldn't be leaning in and still doing a good job.
Yeah. Just by way of closing, Prof, how does the school, Stellenbosch Business School, further help its students just connect with businesses and obviously prepare them for that open market out there? And you spoke around marketability and as well as around relevance.
Yeah, well, I think in the first instance, we're very lucky that we have a very successful and very highly regarded executive development portfolio, and that portfolio, by its very nature, means that we have close ties, deep, long-standing relationships with different C-suite and other players in a range of different industry verticals, and we are using Stellenbosch faculty to deliver on those executive programs, and of course, what they learn and the networks that they develop are then re-energized and brought in to where it's appropriate, brought back into the classroom in programs, like future studies and leadership and development finance, and of course the MBA and so on. So, I think that's the approach that we've taken, and again, it's about proximity to industry in that instance,
Yeah. Well, listen, congratulations once again, Prof. Chris van der Hoven, who is the newly appointed Senior Director at the Stellenbosch Business School. We're going to take a quick pause and we'll be right back.
Outsurance has another random fact for you. In 1998, a kid's 20 Rand pocket money meant a shopping spree at the school tuck shop. Now, they need about 70 Rand. The cost of living has gone up, but Outsurance is still committed to giving you big savings on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754 to switch and save today. Let's hear what real Outsurance clients have to say.
When you deal with Outsurance, it is effortless. They treated us like human beings.
With Outsurance, you always get something out. Outsurance has paid out more than 6 billion Rand in out bonuses. That's more than any other insurer.
With Outsurance, when you look at it, it sounds too good to be true, but it's good. It's true.
SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
As we prepare to wind it down in the next couple of minutes, we thought we'd touch base with you on WhatsApp as well as our phone line 086 000 2032. And of course, our WhatsApp line is 061 410 4107. I had asked you earlier on if, in light of the fact that today is National Police Day, we're honoring police officers in service and those who have lost their lives whilst in service in protection of man and country. And I just wanted to, touch base with you if maybe you were an officer or there's a member of your family that is an officer, and just gauge your lived experience. And then also just flip it a little bit, just as a normal South African citizen interacting with police every day, we tend to have a very negative connotation when it comes to police officers and the work that they do, and we brandish all of them with the same brush, right? We just don't speak positively of them. And so I wondered on this day if we could take a few moments just to reflect on the dynamics of those various relationships. 061 410 4107 and 086 000 2032. Let's go to WhatsApp.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Good afternoon, Bridget Mataboge. Bridget, my point on the police day is that the respected and committed policemen and women are no longer part of the force these days. It is not even 60% of those that are committed to the work. Most of them or some of those people are just there to collect money or salary and continue doing wrong things within the police force. Some are linked to the criminals. It is evident because some of them were arrested. Obviously, this is not bringing about the good image of the police force. Thank you.
Yes, police officers, they are very good people. Yes, there are some rotten apples. Last week I had a breakdown, so I was waiting for my car tracker to send the tow truck. I stopped the vehicle of police officers. There were two, and they say, "Okay, we're gonna wait for you, but my colleague is going to clock in. You have to work night shift, but they still gonna wait for me." They waited for me for about 35 minutes, and my towing team arrived and they go. They are very good people out there.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
And I guess that's the crux of the matter, right? There are those who've had really great experiences with police and often speak of them in the positive because they've come to their rescue or they've gone over and above the call of duty to ensure your safety and security. And of course, there are those who just tend to see the negative of the men and women who wear, the uniform because of everything that we see, from corruption to the bad headlines to finding out that some were allegedly involved in helping the masterminds of Stilfontein escape custody. And so it's the opposites of sort of the spectrum, depending on who you're asking. But I personally would like to believe that there are more good-willed, dedicated police officers out there than there are rotten apples. A system has a way, especially when a system is breaking down, it has a way of demoralizing people. It has a way of taking the energy out of people. It has a way of just making an environment unconducive for those who work within the system. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not doing the work or that the will to do the work is not there. It's just when you are fighting against something that is crippling around you at times, it makes it very, very difficult. But to those men and women who continue to be in service, we thank you very much for that, for literally putting your life on the line and sacrificing yourself to make sure that the rest of us are safe in our homes and in our streets and in our businesses. And as I said when we were going into this, that you can't pay me enough. There used to be a show that was called Job Swap, and you can't pay me enough to put on a uniform for 24 hours and be in the streets of Johannesburg. It would never happen, because that's just how much I do not desire that job at all. So to those who do it, we thank you so much. And of course, in honor of the day, to those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice with their lives, to yourselves and your family and your loved ones that you've left behind, we are so ever grateful for the work and so ever grateful for the sacrifice. That is where we leave it from myself and my team. Ashraf Gada and his team are already in the vicinity, getting ready to take over and do what they do best. No doubt you're going to be continuing some of the hot conversations of their day, including those developments in the DRC, of course. From myself and my team, I will see you on Wednesday. Have a great day. Inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again.
Thank you, Bridget. And the team top stories at 3. Court withdraws case against City of Cape Town official, and Mpofu argues the SABC is choosing political sides. For SAFM News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good afternoon. The case against a City of Cape Town official who was arrested at the city's offices last week has been withdrawn in the Cape Town Magistrates Court. The official was charged with defeating the ends of justice. Authorities have not confirmed whether the incident is related to the raid on the offices of mayoral committee members J.P. Smith and Xanthia Limburg last week. The Police Commercial Crimes Unit descended on the municipality's offices as part of an ongoing investigation into tender fraud into construction sector within the city of Cape Town. Senior Counsel Advocate Dali Mpofu has argued that the SABC is choosing political sides when using the term Government of National Unity. Mpofu has further argued that by using the term, the public broadcaster also promotes the political objectives of the GNU. This as the Umkhonto weSizwe Party's case against the SABC continues in the High Court in Johannesburg today. The MK Party further argues that the GNU is nothing but a grand coalition between the DA and the ANC. Mpofu elaborates.
The SABC cannot be equated with a private citizen or broadcaster who is entitled to freedom of expression. The SABC is a public broadcaster funded by the taxpayer to provide the highest standards of journalism and fair, unbiased, impartial, and independent news coverage. Whereas a private citizen or broadcaster may freely take political sides and promote party political objectives, a public broadcaster may not use public money to do so.
Former Minister of International Relations, Naledi Pandor, has called for diplomatic efforts to address the crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo. This comes after 9 South African soldiers were killed and several others injured whilst fighting M23 rebels last week. Speaking to the SABC, Pandor says the ongoing strife is disheartening and hopes the upcoming UN Security Council meeting will bring solutions.
DRC is a large country with significant resources for the continent, and I think a great deal of strategic capability that could be of huge value for our development. So to see it in such strife really disheartens, I think, leaders on the continent. So I'm hoping that with the Security Council meeting planned for today, and hopefully with the attention of the African Union and SADC,
traditional healer Mahodzo Gogo Maweni Mufugeng has been released on 5,000 rand bail after briefly appearing in the Protea Magistrate Court in Soweto. Mufugeng is facing a charge of assault with the intent to cause grievous bodily harm. She was arrested on the 19th of this month in connection with an assault incident. The case has been postponed to next month. Student activists have blocked the busiest road intersection in Serbia's capital, Belgrade. This is the latest in a series of demonstrations against alleged government corruption. They were prompted